Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lending Leaders. My name is Alayna Gardner, AMP, and this week I'm joined with our fire co-host, Jim Paolino, our CEO of Lodestar. But today you're on as our home buyer.
Thank you for a double homeowner at the moment right now.
Oh, yeah.
Which is strenuous.
You know?
Nice. Yeah.
Two
stressful.
mortgages.
Yeah. We'll actually, spoil the lead, but we will avoid paying 2 mortgages. So we're very excited about that.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, you closed last week on your new home.
Yeah.
So what was the closing process like this time versus the last time you went through it? And what do you feel like has changed? Because it's been about a year and a half, 2 years, right?
Yep.
Since you got your first.
Yeah. So I think we were waiting on the appraisal, right? Last time we spoke. So got the appraisal. Everything went fine. Closed last Friday. My wife didn't have COVID this time, so that was good. So we actually had like the real closing experience in the realtor's office, and other people were there, and they didn't have a jumbo key that I was a little disappointed in.
Yeah.
I was like, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. But we like took the picture next to their logo and did that whole thing and signed a bunch of documents that we did get to review early, which was nice. So that was helpful. And yeah, it was not anticlimactic. It was just interesting. Like I'm trying to think of like how I feel about the closing experience, because like it was great getting in the house and getting the keys and going to the house after and like starting to like take down the curtains you don't want and like those types of things and making it feel like your own was really cool. The closing itself was like confusing and formal, I think. In terms of like there were just all these documents. There was the notary there. There were 4 different people there, and it's like a big deal for people, right? And they don't go through it that often, so you don't really like care about kind of putting up with like what the process is like necessarily. And it was great to like see everyone there and like go through the process. I got to see my mortgage broker in person, like hadn't met him, so that was all good. It was probably like 30 to 40 minutes, so not like terribly long in the grand scheme of things. So felt great, having closed, having that kind of out of the way, going right to the house after. We had contractors start literally like 2 hours after we closed on the house. So doing all that stuff is fun. So definitely shows like how big of a deal it is. And I think because it's such a big deal, like you're not viewing it like you do any other transaction.
Yeah.
Right. Because it happens so infrequently and it's so important. You're like, of course, we're going to sit around a table and go through this because that's what buying a house is. Right.
Yeah.
Which is fine, which I'm not disagreeing with, but like, that's, I think, where my head's at.
It's like, doesn't need to be this big production kind of.
Or do you lean into that too? Because I was actually meaning like, I have all these oddball business ideas, but like you grew up in the event space, right? So like, how do you like turn the closing into an event, right? How do you like Instagram the crap out of this, right?
Yeah.
Like, and also like now people do things like, they involve people in gender reveals and weddings remotely and all of these things. Like, how do you like remote and family-ify a closing? Should you? You probably shouldn't. But like, will people want that? Will Gen Z want that? Will other people like want to make this a bigger deal because you're going to do it once? Like, I don't know. So that's kind of the types of things I'm noodling about. We have a very stream of conscious recording going on right now. So
I definitely think it's something that, especially for your first home, I think a lot of times your first time home buyers get celebrated. And then after that, you kind of like pull back. You're like, this before.
Right. True.
They haven't had all of that. But I think
the first kid's like that too, by the way. And
yeah.
The second, you're like, okay, you guys know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the difference can be is like, if you make that closing an experience, right? And you have a memorable time at the closing table and in that room, is that when you go to purchase a home again, you're more likely to go with the person.
Right.
If the process is still good, right?
Yeah.
But you've had this wonderful experience with them.
Right.
And it's that like you have a win, right? At the end of the day, like a closing is a win for the home buyer,
for everyone.
For everyone at the table. And if you have a real celebration, you want to experience that again as a home buyer. And you're like, I'm going to go back to that because it felt good. Versus like, they got me a good rate.
The docs. Like, it's fine.
And like, don't get me wrong, there are definitely people that don't make an emotional purchase, right?
Yeah.
And but like a lot of people make decisions
Right.
with emotions, and
Yeah.
especially in like a home buying or a wedding experience.
Yep.
It's an emotional decision.
Right.
It's
Well, then you're telling your friends about it, right? Other people are going through the process too, and they see it as you share it, like that type of stuff. So
yeah, and I think it's tough though, because it definitely is one of those things that like for us it's kind of a regular day occurrence. Is like
Yeah.
a closing of this or that,
Yeah.
versus like it's a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
Right, for a lot of people,
Right.
or a twice in a lifetime
Right.
event that they might make after their they have their kids and all
Yeah.
that. So I think it's something that you definitely could, and I think there's a marketing opportunity and a retention opportunity
Yeah.
as well.
So we'll see. Just noodling it around. The almost more exciting thing is selling our house, because that was a bigger point of stress too. So we got an offer last week. That's all going through. So that's closing in mid-December. So we're actually going to avoid paying double mortgages, which is good. Everything's kind of moving through at a good time. A lot of things are happening all at once. I mean, I think people at Lodestar always think I'm crazy already, but this is just another like, oh wow, this is a lot, Jim. You're great. You're gonna do everything all at once, huh?
Yeah. It fails sometimes. Yeah. Having have a second kid, then start a company.
It was a year of second kid, second business, second house. We had to round it out.
Okay, yeah. Things come in
Yeah.
threes.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in.
Yeah. So that was part of the rationale. But yeah. Well, we'll get settled and it'll be all good. But
And now, so what do you feel like from the overall experience? What do you feel like? Did any of your tech change or your overall experience change between your first house to your second? It's been a period, right, in the mortgage industry.
it was a couple of years. The one thing that they did this time with the closing, which was really helpful, is they could a bunch of documents can be e-signed ahead of time. So it's kind of hybrid. So you actually, instead of having to read 80 pages at the closing table, you get them sent a day or two ahead of time, which I found to be really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice.
Yeah.
I think because I was already in the system of the mortgage broker, actually the pre-qual was super easy because I went to log in and everything was there from before. So after the open house, I submitted that pre-qual in like 10 minutes. Like everything was in there. It was already in the POS from 2 years ago. And like that made life very easy. And there's just so many different systems, right? Like the lender UWM had a system, the realtors had Doc Loop that was signing things. Like there are just a lot of things kind of coming and going.
And I think it's really interesting because I was talking to a friend over the weekend. They were looking at buying a house. She filled out 2 pre-quals, right, with 2 different lenders because last time they bought new construction, so they went with the lender that the construction company suggested.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them took her 45 minutes to 2 hours to do.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them used technology. Both of them had tech stacks. There were some issues with that she was having, right? But I think it's a real retention strategy, right? Is like if you can go to your same lender, they have all your information, you can do a pre-qual in 10 minutes versus an hour.
I mean, I was going to shop at some point. I was going to figure out, and I did after I got that pre-qual, but I'm like, this is going to be fastest. I got a pre-qual then through another bank too, who services the mortgage. And that was, I don't even know if I submitted everything. I forgot how that process went. They just quoted me rates, but it was.
But like, if you don't know how the process went, like you were never seriously considering that as an option, right? Like, and I think that says a lot of how technology can really improve retention rates for lenders.
True.
Is if you have a good tech stack that borrowers like working within, and you have good LOs.
Yeah, it was fast. It was easy, and then there's just a lot of confusion about the documents throughout the process of what's coming and going. And like, I work this industry. I'm like, what exactly do we have to sign? And then you have to explain it to your spouse.
Yeah. And especially I feel like as someone in the industry, you have to explain it to people because they're like, well, what is this? You should know. You can tell me.
I was like, I don't know, the state makes you sign this for lead paint or something. Like there's just a lot of different things that need to get signed. So cutting down on that or making that easier to explain, I think would be a huge win too. I think the thing where we were a little spoiled going to sell the house thinking it would be like 3 days. And ultimately, I think our house was on the market like 26 days, something like that. Not that well below the national average. Also looking at like normal home buying, it's a very normal period of time. It did not feel that way to us in the time. There was 2 open houses, a price reduction. Like it felt longer to do. Ultimately, it all worked out, but it definitely showed like how not normal our expectations probably are of the market, of buying, of selling, of all of those things. Like getting 30 leads for a home is not normal. Like 30 offers rather on a home is not normal. Right. So like taking 3 weeks to sell a house, that's very normal. So
Yeah.
just it was interesting kind of how the expectations fell into it.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to share between the two processes or selling for the first time that you think is valuable and large for the industry to know?
I think it's a very emotional process both ways, right? The selling, I think, was more emotional than I realized because, like, especially with little kids, having to like clean up all their stuff, stage everything, like eliminate all of their stuff multiple times a week. For that, like, it was just like physically and emotionally and mentally very tiring. I think the process of selling a house, and I think realtors, there's a lot of pressure on realtors right now with the NARS element and everything. They provide a ton of value. Right. They have a very important role in the transaction. Our realtor, Amanda, who's also a Lodestar employee, we'll tag her. It's great. Really, really enjoyed working with her for both of these deals. So it was, just I think that's like having that trusted partner to navigate it is super important because it's emotional. It's nice not being the one tied up with that.
Yeah.
It's just all a lot.
Awesome.
So.
Well, thank you, Jim, for being so sharing about your home buyer journey. And we really appreciate it. And if this is the type of content you really like seeing from us, we do have a couple other home buyers that we're going to have come on that aren't as familiar with the process as Jim this coming year. So let us know if you want to see more of those and what type of questions you want us to ask non-mortgage professionals about their home experience. We'll see you all next week.